Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Above the Rim Rundown, where we run down all things NBA. I am one of your hosts, Memo, and right beside me, I've got Hoops. How you doing?
What's going on, man? Overall, I've been doing good, just getting through life, work, and so forth. Um, how you been?
I've been all right. It's been actually a very eventful few days for me. Um, on Thursday, I was working on a group project. I was actually editing a video for a skit that we had to do for our arts class. And I was working on that. I was calling my friend about it, trying to get it done. And I went downstairs real quick, and out of nowhere, my grandma was in the living room. She lives in Guatemala, so like her spotting into the living room was so random. I was so surprised. Like I'm happy to see her. Obviously, it's my grandma, but like I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw her in the living room, and I'm like here freaking out about like a video that I need to work on for a class, and she's just like there. It was very surprising. So since she's here, we've been doing a little bit of more like family time, I guess. Today we actually went to SeaWorld. I don't know why, but my grandma wanted to go to SeaWorld. And I haven't gone since I was a kid. We went with our cousins as well, who are like 5 years old. So um, I hope they had like a really good time. They were, crying a lot, but that's because that's what they do. They cry a lot. Um, I don't know. I thought it was nice. I thought it was cute. We saw a couple of the shows. Um, we got the a ticket that like by purchasing the ticket we also get a free meal. So we took advantage of that, but that might have been a mistake because the line was so long. It took forever for us to finally get our meal, and it wasn't even like that good. Like the burger I had was pretty mid. Like it was fine. Like I ate it all, but it was mid. But yeah, we it was a good day, I guess. Overall, I touched a manatee. That's cool. Saw some interesting creatures, but a little random. It's been a weird, unexpected last few days for me. How about you?
Well, first off, I'm glad that you had a good week and you were able to have some good time with your family. So did your family intentionally plan it out where did she purposely try to surprise you specifically, or like you and your sisters, or
Surprised
because I'm guessing
me.
your parents knew about it
My
because
my
they
parents knew,
yeah.
and my sister Ruby knew about it because she was the one that booked the ticket. So my youngest sister, Lily, didn't know. They actually like filmed her reaction when she was at work. She works at a pizza shop. It was actually pretty funny because she's like minding her own business, like just waiting for a customer, and you could see her head turn like immediately at our grandma. I don't know. We're being so surprised that she showed up. um, yeah, it was. It's been interesting. It's been an interesting few days for sure.
That's pretty funny. Um, and yeah, that's pretty cool. So I guess in a way, was it practically meant to be like a birthday surprise for you, or maybe
I
not
I don't
necessarily?
even know why she's here. Honestly, but she didn't give me a present, so I don't think so. She definitely would have if it was for my birthday. But that's been a few weeks now.
Mm.
Honestly, I think she came to visit because like now that my aunt has her own place, with her kids, maybe she just wanted to see like how it is, how they're doing. Um, that's my only guess, honestly.
For sure. Well, I'm glad that you've been enjoying her presence and having a good time with the family.
Yeah, it's always nice for sure. Even though I'm busy, I'm always so busy. I have so much stuff to do, like talking about the 10, like 15 best centers in the NBA. That's what we're talking about today. We are ending off our like position ranking series with the centers. We are gonna come through next week ranking every single player in the NBA, not by position. Um, so that will be exciting. That will be interesting for sure. But today we are focusing on only the centers, and I am not gonna lie. I made my list a few minutes before this recording, so um, it's not the most like researched list, but I feel like I can make an argument for why I have certain players where they are, and I feel like it makes sense. At least to me, we'll see. Maybe you'll think I'm crazy, but we'll see. How was the list making process for you?
I would say not too bad, though I will say at the end a little bit tricky certain players to add or to not add because like I feel like there were definitely a lot of players that were like worthy of being mentioned,
Uh huh.
but like we're on the cusp of being on or off the list. And then there were definitely some guys so I will say this while making the list this year, for the most part, I haven't really been looking back at last year's list. This time, I somewhat did a little bit, and I think I did realize that there were a good amount of players that either dropped quite a bit or maybe even fell off the list, or even
Ooh.
players that came on the list. So, yeah, I think that that just comes to show like how 1 year can make a huge difference for um, player rankings was in position in the league. Like you usually don't think of it like 1 year would make that big of a difference, but I guess more so than we anticipate. So there's that. But yeah, overall I would say not too bad. Um, but there were definitely some tricky makes and cuts for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. I usually look back at our list just to see like how different our opinions might have changed since then. And I feel like most of the players I had from last year are on my list this year. But I do relate with you on the fact that like it was hard choosing like the last few names to be added on the list, and I ended up only having like one big like honorable mentions. Maybe you'll mention someone that like deserve a shout, and I'll probably agree. But the one person that I didn't have on my list that definitely like deserves a shout out is Derek Lively. The biggest reason why I don't have him on my list is because of the amount of injuries. Like he only played 36 games last year, which is very unfortunate. But he's a good player. He does his job right. Almost 9 points per game, almost 8 rebounds per game. That's basically all you want from your center, right? Get some buckets, get some rebounds, and play defense. He's a decent defender as well. Um, but he's been injured like a lot, so it is kind of hard to say that he is a top 15 um, center in the league if he's not playing that much. But I'm sure next year, right? Um, he'll do a lot better. At least I hope so. There's no more Luca, so there's not a guy as talented as Luca that's gonna be setting him up all the time. So that definitely hurts Lively for sure, and the fact that Anthony Davis is on the team, Gafford is on the team. He might be having less minutes as well. That might not help him, stat wise, but I'm sure he is the type of guy to like, be a glue guy. Just be there when needed and do all the dirty work. That's kind of like the vibe I get from him. So, um, although he isn't in my top 15, I do think that he deserves a shout out. So that's the only honorable mention I have. Did you have him as an honorable mention, or who did make your honorable mentions list and did not make your actual list?
So he was definitely an honorable mention for me as well. I wanted to put him on the list, but I just couldn't. And one of the reasons was because he missed too many games. Um, yeah, I think that that really was it because obviously we all know his rookie year 23-24, he had a pretty good season, an illustrious piece in the Mavs surprise run to the finals. Last year, he was just limited to um, like not a lot of games, and I think that was what unfortunately prevents him from being on this list. However, if he's able to stay healthy, I think that there's a good chance he will be back on this list next season. And yeah, as you mentioned, obviously the loss of Luca definitely hurts a little bit for sure. He's not going to have as good setups. And the fact that the Mavs center position is just so deep, that also makes things tricky for sure. But I believe that he'll find a way to be used right, and he'll have his touches, and good chance he could potentially be back on this list next year. So we shall see. But Derek Lively, certainly an honorable mention. And then I did mention a few other guys too. I think I'll start with Nas Reed. So I think that he's a player that like I really wanted to add on this list. Ultimately, there were just a few guys that I thought were just a hint above him. And we'll say this: the thing about Nas Reed is he's a really good piece for a good contending team. Obviously, Timberwolves making the conference finals back-to-back seasons, and he is, yeah, one of those very good modern stretch bigs. He not only can he do the down low work, and he could play his defense and have some blocks during the game. He's also able to shoot the ball and make threes and at a pretty good rate. Average 14 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, shooting 46 from the field and 38 from three. Pretty efficient. And just barely had him missing this list, but certainly a very good honorable mention. And then I think the last guy I'll mention as honorable mention, Isaiah Hartenstein. So last year, I had him on the list. This year, unfortunately, fell short. I feel like some guys just happened to make a jump, and I'm not even going to say it's him falling back because he still had a really good season. But ultimately, I think that it was mostly like some other guys that made jumps, which is what reason why he missed it this year. Um, and the one thing about him is he's really good at playing whatever role his team needs him to. So, for example, he is he's like the typical center that you really would like to have on your team, and like he's capable of starting. But if you have him as like your backup, like OKC situation, one hell of a number two center option. Um, Doing so, he averaged still double digit points, 11 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 58% from the field. And yeah, pretty good player. So that's why I got to add Isaiah Hartenstein as an honorable mention. So really, I think it was mostly just those three guys that missed it that I had to give a shout out to: Derek Lively, Nas Reed, and as Isaiah Hartenstein.
All right, that's very, for the most part, very valid. I feel like Nas Reed is a great shout. He was actually one of the players I had last year that didn't make it. It was him and Derek Lively that were on my list last year that I had to kick off the list, unfortunately. So, I believe it was just those two. I could be wrong. But yeah, I do agree with those. I feel like Isaiah Hartenstein should have been on your list though. Like after that great like finals run, I think he should. be there. So I'm very curious on who you have instead of Isaiah. Like I won't say that he deserves to be top 5, but he's definitely a top 15 center in my opinion.
I guess we'll find out.
I guess we'll find out right now. If you're ready, right? Should we jump in?
Yeah, we can jump in.
All right, let's do this. So we're gonna reveal our first chunk as we usually do. We chunk them by fives. So we're gonna go 15 through 11. I've revealed mine. You've revealed yours. Okay. This is very, very interesting. So we have some similar names and some like wildly different names. So I'll have you read off your list first.
All right, so at number 15, I got Kristaps Porzingis. Number 14, Chet Holmgren. Number 13, Miles Turner. Number 12, Nikola Vucevic. And at number 11, Rudy Gobert.
And I got at number 15, Nick Claxton. Number 14, Kristaps Porzingis. 13, Isaiah Hartenstein. 12, Miles Turner. And 11, Rudy Gobert. So it looks like our Rudy Gobert, placement, we have exact same. Miles Turner isn't too far from each other. Kristaps Porzingis is not too far from each other. You have Nikola Vucevic. I don't have him on my list.
Interesting.
That's
okay.
one of our differences. And then Chet, I have him a lot higher. I'm not gonna lie, I have him a lot higher. I'm actually very surprised you have him this slow. Actually, I can see an argument, but I'll have you make the argument on why you have your guys in this order.
Okay, got it. Oh, I'll okay. Spoiler alert. Nick Claxton did not make my list, but I honestly I thought about like when we were talking about honorable mentions, I was gonna mention him, but I didn't want to like keep state. I didn't want to like drag the time out mentioning too many honorable mentions. That's why I didn't say his name just now. But easily, Nick Claxton is a very good honorable mention, and honestly, like, not even upset the fact that you have him on your list because he's very arguable top 15 center. But I just want to get that part out the way real quick.
Fair.
Without further ado, I'll now get to my list. So starting at the top of the top 15, at number 15, I got Kristaps Porzingis. So a year ago, he was pretty high on this list. This season, still pretty good. I feel like he probably did take like a slight step back a little bit. Granted, he was injured for a bit too, but I think that the thing about Kristaps is he's clearly shown that what he's still capable of when he is healthy. Obviously, he had that legacy performance in the finals, game 1 against the Mavs in 2024. This season, still did pretty good. Wasn't quite the same. Now he's traded to the Hawks. I feel like him and Trey can definitely have a nice little pairing there. And we shall see how that fit goes. But I think that definitely he'll fit in good and for sure is easily still a top 15 center in the league. Right above him, Chet Holmgren. So I could absolutely see why you would rank him higher because like he's a really damn good young up and coming center in the league. I feel like there were just a few players that I feel like were probably just a little bit higher stature than him. But I'm going to say this about Holmgren, though. 15 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 49% from the field, 40 from 3. Not too bad for a big man. And obviously, one of the concerns coming out of the draft was his body build, being like really skinny, skinnier than KD was, all that. Obviously, he got hurt before his true rookie season in a pickup game against LeBron, but like still though, his talent undeniable. I mean, obviously, him and against Wemby, the good battles they have gonna go for years to come, and it's gonna be fun. Um, but yeah, ultimately, I'm not saying this like I'm gonna say this. I think that he could potentially make the next step up, which might be the reason why he's down here. And that's not to knock him for his abilities now. I mean, like he's still really good. Clearly illustrious part of the OKC championship. We saw OKC was not the same team when he was injured during the middle of the season. Um, but yeah, ultimately, I just felt like there were a few guys that were like a little bit more higher stature than him, but not to take away from him. Easily top 15 center in the league. Um, Number 13, Miles Turner. So Miles Turner has been in the league for 10 years now, and he's been pretty good, decent fourth in the league. Um, Last year, he was a pretty key contributor to the Pacers making it to the finals, averaged 16 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, shooting 48% from the field, and a pretty decent 40% from three for a big man. And now he finds himself in Milwaukee and going to team up with Giannis. We shall see how that pairing goes. I think that was a good ad for the Bucks for sure. Obviously, them then waiving Dame made it a little bit more of like, I guess, made it less good than it seemed initially because like, why you waive Dame like that? But at the same time, like this signing itself looks like a pretty good ad on paper. We'll see how the pairing goes chemistry wise, but I'm sure they'll find a way to make it work. So Miles Turner definitely top 15. Um, Nikola Vucevic. So obviously I heard you say that you did not have him on your list. Um, I guess I could see why because he's not the same player as he once was. That being said, me personally, I still think he's top 15. Um, his numbers are still pretty good. He last season he averaged 19 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 53% from the field, 40% from three. Although he is like aging for sure, still putting up pretty productive numbers and averaging double double. And yeah, obviously he plays for a Bulls team that is super middle of the pack, refuses to rebuild when they probably should be. Um, but Vucevic doing his role, so that's why I feel like for him still being pretty consistent and averaging a double double at this age, still worthy being in the top 15. And that brings us to number 11, Rudy Gobert. So Rudy Gobert obviously still is an elite defender in this league. I feel like his overall role, he definitely took a little bit of setback. Obviously, we all know one thing about Gobert is his offense is really limited. All he really does is stuff at the rim, dunks, layups, putbacks, maybe occasional baby hooks. That's about it. And that's one of the things that holds him back a little bit. And another thing about Rudy is like as elite of a rim protector he is, when he has to guard guards, then obviously different story because like he's slow, the guards are fast. Overall, though, I still think he, despite like not necessarily being the same level as he once was when he was probably at least top 5, top 3 center in the league, easily still top 15 center in the league. And without him, obviously, like Timberwolves defense overall still pretty good, but it wouldn't quite be the same without his presence in the paint. So overall, Rudy Gobert had to be here. So that would be my 15 through 11.
All right, I guess it was fair. Maybe I should have had Vucevic on my list. Like, look, he has good stats, and like can't really say that like It's just good stats on a bad team if I have like Nick Claxton on my list, right? Even though his stats aren't like elevated because he's on a bad team, I think he deserves to be a top 15 player because of his great defense. Um, Still, it's not like he's playing for a winning team. Neither of those players are playing for a winning team. Just one of them is really good offensively, while the other one's really good defensively. Um, and yeah, like 18 points is nothing to scoff at for sure. So that one, I'm like, um, you might have convinced me there. The Chet one, it's still a little confusing. Like, is it mostly because he still has a lot to prove? Is that your like main point there?
I think that it's mostly just the fact that I think he has room to get even better. I mean, obviously, he's already had a pretty good start to his career. 2 years in, already a champion. His second year in the league. Only on his, I think he can only go up from here. I feel like that's the only reason why I have him down here because some of these other players have been a little bit more proven. I feel like he has room to grow for sure. Maybe next year I have him in the top 10 though. I mean, not too far off. So yeah, I say the main reason why I have him down here is due to the um room for potentially getting even better, being this young and only in entering his third real season of playing, even though he would have been the fourth year if he didn't get hurt the first year in the off season.
Okay, I guess, but like, you don't think he's better than Rudy then? Like, I feel like their games are not only similar, but I feel like at this point, like Chet is for sure better offensively, and he's like right up there defensively.
Um, I think that it's definitely debatable between him and Rudy. I kind of just gave Rudy the nod due to like being in the league a bit longer and being a little bit more polished there. Um, who would I rather have on my team? I'm not gonna lie, low key, maybe probably Chet to be honest.
Okay.
So, you're low key kind of convincing me a little bit, but I think ultimately I just had to put Gobert higher due to the fact that he's just been in the league longer and we've seen him around more. That's probably the main reason. But I think that next season, honestly, there's a good reason. There's a very good chance that Chet surpasses him on my
True.
list.
And also, to
Yeah.
be fair, like Chet only played like 36 games or something like that during the regular
Yeah.
season. So although he, showcased his talents in like a major way in the playoffs, it would be nice to see like a healthy season from him and see what he's able to do throughout an
Definitely.
entire season. But okay, I guess I can go over my list starting with Nick Claxton, who doesn't play for a great team. He plays for Brooklyn, but I think he's a great player. Averages almost a double double, I believe. Kind of 10 points per game, 7 rebounds per game, 2 assists per game if you care about that from your center. 1.4 blocks a game. It's not this past season wasn't his past or best season. So, low key, I am being convinced more and more that maybe I should have replaced him with Nikola Vucevic, or maybe that's the guy that should be here instead. Because Lively didn't play a lot of games. Nasri, I don't think he's better than Vucevic. So you low key convinced me, but Nick Claxton is a great player, especially on the defensive end. I think if he's traded to an organization that like you know knows how to run an organization, like if he became a Laker, oof, oof, oh my god, oh my God.
Oh
The,
man, that would be
the
so great,
That
honestly.
would be amazing. The amount of damage we'd be able to make in the West would be insane if he was a Laker. If we had him instead of DeAndre Ayton. Oh my god, what a dream come true. Him being paired up with Luca? Are you kidding me? That would be amazing. So,
Yeah.
yeah, although his stats aren't super crazy and he plays for a bad team, if he's put in the right, you know, position, if he's put into the right team, I'm sure he can help out a team in a big way. Next, I have Kristaps Porzingis, who was injured quite a bit last year. You know, it's Kristaps. That's kind of his thing. You know, he's always injured. Uh, this was definitely one of the, most missed games he's had in his career. Like one of the worst seasons for that, which is unfortunate. And it definitely had an effect on the team throughout the regular season. I feel like, they weren't as dominant as they were the year they won the championship. I think that is very apparent. Stats are decent. 19.5 points per game, 6.8 rebounds. I believe averages like a block. We got 1.5 blocks. Nice stretch big, so he could do a little bit of everything. He could block your shots, he could rebound, he could shoot a three. Has a little bit of a mid-range game, post-up game. A talented guy, very talented guy, but he's not healthy. If he's able to be healthy though, this upcoming season with the Hawks, and I believe this is like a contract year for him as well. You could correct me if I'm wrong there, but like I could see him balling out and having a huge impact on the Hawks, and maybe after next season, he'll be a lot higher on my list. But based off of his track record, based off of how last season went, yeah, I feel like 14 is a very fair placement for him. Above him, I have Isaiah Hartenstein. You could argue he's not as talented. You can argue that the stats are definitely worse. 11.2 points per game. He is a better rebounder. 10.7 rebounds per game. Better playmaker. 3.8 assists per game. Which is one of his best attributes, honestly, is his playmaking. The OKC Thunder were able to utilize that in a great way throughout the season. Yeah, Isaiah Hartenstein is a solid center. As you said, he could be starting for a lot of teams. And, depending on the lineup, OKC did start him sometimes they didn't. But either way, whether he's starting or not, he is contributing in a big way. And it was apparent for sure. We all saw his impact and how he was able to help win a chip for OKC. So, yeah, he definitely gets a winning a championship boost for sure. But I feel like he definitely deserves to be on the list. But I guess that's just me. Speaking of a boost, we got Miles Turner, who made the finals against Isaiah Hartenstein in the OKC Thunder. You could argue for him to be lower. You could argue for him to be higher. Depends on what you like from your center. This is definitely one of the most interesting, most popular attributes you want from a center, being a rim protecting stretch five. It's kind of rare in the NBA, and not too rare, but still, like, you don't really expect your center to do that, but Miles Turner is one of the guys that does it and does it pretty well. Averages 15.6 points per game, 6.5 rebounds per game, 1.5 assists per game, about a block a game. Actually, 2 blocks. My bad. 2 blocks a game from Miles. Talented guy, but he's very inconsistent defensively, other than shot blocking. I want to say he's like the best out there. Um, Definitely thrived a lot within the system that Rick Carlisle and Tyrese Halliburton helped create over there in Indiana. So I'm very curious on how he's gonna play for the Bucks for the first time in his career. He's moving on to a different team. That's very surprising. Um, the Bucks roster sucks in general, so it might not even be his fault if things don't work out. But yeah, talented guy. Nothing else to say there, I guess. Last guy I'm gonna talk about. I might 11 placement. I have Rudy Gobert, lower than where I had him last year because he is digressing. He is, becoming worse at in the offensive area for sure. He averages 12 points per game, 10.9 rebounds per game, 1.8 assists per game. That's decent. 1.4 blocks per game. He's still one of the best defenders in the league for sure. But, we've all kind of noticed that, like, he's not getting any better. He's getting a little bit worse throughout the years, especially offensively. Had some poor moments in the playoffs, but he somehow cooked the Lakers for some reason as well. So I guess I can't say he was terrible for that's for sure. But yeah, Rudy Gobert, still a great defender, but it's Rudy. We all know how he is. So that's my list. Anything you want to talk about? Anything that struck a nerve or anything?
The answer to the nerve striking is an absolute no. Because I think that these players are all reasonable, honestly. Um, and yeah, honestly, like most of them definitely actually scratch that. All of them are worthy of being on this list. I already mentioned how I just barely had Claxton missing it, but he's an honorable mention for sure. And then Hartenstein, I really wanted to put him on this list, but there were just a few guys that I thought were a little bit more, I guess, worthy than him. And then the other three guys mentioned, we all have in the set, so not too much for me to say here. Overall, I say reasonable set for sure.
All right, let's reveal the next set since I feel like we've already went through everything there. So this will be 10 through 6. That will be our next chunk.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I forgot. I thought you had Evan Mobley on the power forwards list last week. I guess
So
I forgot.
I didn't. That's why I felt like I kind of had to put him on this list.
Okay.
I think that I honestly though, like I don't even remember why I didn't put him on the power forwards. It's either if it was because I thought he was more a center, or if I forgot to include him. Either way, though, if I didn't include him last week, I feel like I had to include him this week because there's no way he would miss both top 15s.
Right.
But honestly, he probably should have been on the power forwards list. But I guess I have to make up for my personal mistake with the position labeling.
Fair enough. Would you like to read your chunk?
Yeah, for sure. So at number 10, I got Jarrett Allen. Number 9, Ivica Zubac. Number 8, Bam Adebayo. Number 7, Domantas Sabonis. And at number 6, I have Evan Mobley.
For me, at number 10, I got Jarrett Allen. Number 9, Bam Adebayo. 8, Ivica Zubac. 7, Domantas Sabonis. And 6, Chet Holmgren. So our lists are very, very similar.
Very similar.
Jarrett Allen at 10, exact same placement. Ivica Zubac and not Jarrett Allen, Bam, we have like switch. So I think Zubats is better. You think Bam is better. I think that's an interesting conversation we could have real soon. We believe Sabonis is the seventh best center in the league. We have that in common. And then you have Evan Mobley here, which, he's a power forward, but you didn't have him last week, so you're making up for that. And I have Chet at 6. Does that surprise you at all? Me having Chet at 6 while you had him at 14?
So yeah, I see that a lot of our players from this set 10 to 6 are very similar, and I think probably for good reason. The main difference is obviously you have Chet number 6, well, I have him lower, and then I put Mobley to make up for ground of leaving him off last week. But to answer your question, am I surprised that you have Chet this high? A little bit, but I could see possibly the argument why he would be up here, just because like potential wise, probably. Now, I feel like a lot of these guys that you have him over definitely like me personally, the reason why I have those guys higher than him is more so due to the fact that they've proven more in the league and they've been like more polished veterans. If you're talking about like potential wise, then I could see why you put Chet higher than them. Um, who would I rather have on my team? That also gets interesting. Like if you're comparing Chet to those other guys below him one by one, I guess it depends on like situation, the team that you choose, the coaching style, all that fit. Um, so I see it more as like you put him higher than the other guys due to potential versus I put the other guys higher due to proven um, proven veteran presence, shall we say. So to answer a little bit shocking, but I could see why maybe you put him that high due to potential.
Okay. Like, I understand that he's only played like 2 real seasons, but, he did contribute to winning a championship, so wouldn't that be a good sign that he is pretty proven?
I feel like proven as in like capable of being the starting center on a team, yeah. Um
On a
I also
championship
feel like
team.
yeah, I also feel like it's just too soon to be ranking him this high also because like as you mentioned, only 2 seasons. Missed a lot of games in year 2.
That part's fair.
So
Yeah, that
so
part
yeah,
is fair.
that would be the main reason why I have him below some of these other guys, but yeah, definitely I'm hoping that if he can play like the majority of a season, then he'll prove all wrong. That would definitely be what I'm rooting for sure. Because personally, I am a Chet fan.
Okay, okay. Understandable. I guess you could go over your list and then I'll just piggyback off of you since, our lists are so similar at the moment. It makes me wonder if our like top 5 is the exact same. I'm very
It
curious
might
on
be. Huh.
what that
Should
looked
be
like.
interesting.
It should be
Yeah.
interesting. But yeah, I'll have you go first.
All right. I'm gonna go ahead and give my pointers. So number 10, Jarrett Allen. So Jarrett Allen was practically the odd man out from the Cavs lineup that didn't make the All-Star nod, right? Like I think I remember Garland, Mitchell, Garland, and Mobley all made it, but Allen didn't, I think.
Right.
Um yeah. And definitely left like some people a little bit upset because like he was still really damn good. And I'm gonna say this, really elite defender, pretty decent offensive player for a really good team attending the Eastern Conference. Definitely worthy of being in the top 15 and for sure in the top 10 also. He averaged 15 points per game, 10 rebounds, 2 assists, shot 71% from the field, and elite shot blocker. He's the type of guy I would love to have on my team. So definitely huge fan of him and for the coacher and keeping the afro alive, also really cool. So shout out to Jarrett Allen there. Um, Next on the list is Bam Adebayo. So if this is a year ago, I think very good case Bam is in the top 5. This past season, he had a little bit of a down year. Um, I think he missed a little bit of time due to injury. I didn't really watch a lot of Heat games, so I don't necessarily know like his. I didn't really see him play this season. Admittedly, he missed a lot of time. I mean, like he did seem to take a slight step back, but overall, still a good, obviously really great player in the league. Average 18 points, around 10 rebounds, 4 assists, and his shooting percentage was a little bit down, only 49% from the field. Did shoot 36 from 3. Um, Overall, I think that he still showing his capabilities of being all-star caliber. This past season, he just took a little bit of a step back. Easily, though, still top 10 center in the league. So I have right above him, I have Domantas Sabonis. So actually, my bad. I accidentally skipped Zubats. He was below Bam. So let me talk about him first. Okay, so Zubats had a pretty good improvement this past season. He was already really good player in the league. This year, made a jump. Average 17 points, 13 rebounds, 3 assists, and shot 63 from the field. And one thing about him, still an elite defender, and his pick and roll game, pretty good as well. And many could argue that Zubats potentially could have been like fringe all-star, and he definitely had a very good argument for it. So there for Zubats. And then obviously I mentioned Bam, so now we're gonna go to Domantas Sabonis. So Sabonis, another one of these unfortunate merchants of good player on bad team. However, for him, it's not good player, bad team, good stats. It is him having proven already that he has already been a very good player for decent teams like in Indiana and the Kings when they made the playoffs a few years ago. That being said, still averaging 19 points, 14 rebounds, 6 assists, shooting 59% from the field and 42 from 3. Sabonis is putting up some pretty good numbers for a team just unfortunately isn't very good. So easily on the top 10 centers list. And next on this list is Evan Mobley, a guy who probably should have been mentioned on the power forwards list, but I just happened to kind of have a little bit mishap with his positions, and I have him as practically a makeup. And the thing about Evan Mobley is I think his game does the explaining for itself. Obviously, last season he made the All-Star, averaged 19 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, and shot 56 from the field. And he also shot 37% from 3. So pretty good, big for a contending team in the Eastern Conference. And I see him potentially getting even better. So once again, probably should have been on the power forwards list, but because I had to include him here, this was a spot I included him on. So that would be my list from number 10 to number 6.
All right. All right. The only thing is the Zubats and Bam debate, I guess. Um, like, can you remind me again? Why do you have Bam over Zubats?
I think the main reason why I had Bam over Zubats was I'm trying to think if there really was like an exact reasoning, to be
Like,
honest.
I know. Bam averages like a couple more points. Um,
That might have been the reason, even though it's not really like too much saying low
yeah,
key.
it's not.
I think I think that's practically like the main difference between the two because like both of them are like elite shot blockers, pretty good offensively. Oh, actually, I think the reason why I did probably put Bam higher, in addition to like slightly averaging more, is the fact that he could shoot threes versus Zubats can't. That's probably the reason. Like if we're talking overall game, I can see why you mentioned Zubats higher. I think that Bam's ability to stretch the floor was probably why I ranked him higher personally.
Okay, I wouldn't say he's the greatest 3 point shooter, but I guess he can shoot some threes. Well, Zubats
Yeah,
can't at all.
yeah. He did. I think like there was this one video. It was like NBA shooters, but they progressively get worse. And I saw like Zubats career 3 point field goal percentage. It was like one for like what was it like 20 something or something. It was kind of wild, but yeah. I'm not necessarily trying to knock him for his inability to shoot because he quite honestly as a center you don't necessarily have to.
Mm-hmm.
Having the shooting ability certainly helps. But yeah, I would say that was probably the main reason why I had Bam higher because he can at least stretch the floor if you need him to.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense. I'll go over my list. I'll do it quickly too, since we have like similar placements, and you already went through a good amount on each player. But I'll start with Jared Allen, who Loki maybe deserved to be an All Star last year. I think he, throughout his career, he should have been like a multiple time All Star by now, not just the one. But yeah, he had a great year. He didn't even miss a game last year. 82 games played. That's pretty impressive. As you mentioned, 13.5 points per game, basically 10 rebounds per game. He is a great shot blocker. It helps a lot on the defensive end for the Cavs. Obviously, Mobley's the better player, but Jared Allen is still great, and any team will love to have him the on the team. Next, I have Bam. I believe, yeah, Bam. Um, I have him lower than Zubats because I think Bam had just a pretty disappointing year. The one year where like Jimmy Butler decides to leave the team, and it could have been his team for himself. He could have proved to the world that he is, a great center. He is a top five center and could lead a team to a decent record. He kind of just shit the bed, and Tyler Hero ended up, taking care of the offensive load, while Bam, still was decent offensively and great defensively, but kind of proved that he needs a star beside him in order for his team to do well, and they didn't even do that well last year. So that's why I have him lower than Zubats. Zubats had a great career year last year. Improved a lot offensively, averages 17 points per game on 62.8% from the field. That's pretty impressive. His defense is really good, especially during the playoffs against Jokic. There's nobody that can stop Jokic, but the person that was the closest to be able to slow him down was definitely Zubats. So, shout out to him. Averages 17, 13, and 3. Very impressive. James Harden has definitely helped him out a lot. But, yeah, he's still a very skillful big man. Very talented. And that is why I have him over Bam. Um, Next, we got Domantas Sabonis, not the best defender, but he is a great offensive hub. Averages 19.1 point per game, 13.9 rebounds per game. He is the best rebounder in the league for sure. Um, and one of the best playmaking big men as well. He averages 6 assists per game. Uh, basically a little Jokic Jr. there, as we all know. Um, yeah, his game doesn't necessarily lead to winning, except for that one year, where 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 did they land? Like the second or third seed with Fox. That was a good year for them, but other than that, it's been very disappointing there in Sacramento. Um, but yeah, still very very talented. Just need a better fit, I guess. Players that can work well with his play style, because it's a very weird and interesting and specific play style he has. But it could work. It could work if there's the personnel good enough around him. And then lastly, I've got Chet. By far our biggest discrepancy between our lists. I have him at 6. You have him at 14. And yeah, your reasoning on why you have him so low with at least one of your reasons make a lot of sense, which is him being injured. He was injured quite a bit last year. That's not good, But when he was there on the court, especially when they needed him the most in the playoffs, he came through for the most part. There were some bad games for sure, but defensively, Chet was like the best defensive player in the playoffs for sure. Like he was amazing with his shot blocking and rim protection. Like he was stellar in the playoffs. That's why I have him so high. He has a champion boost for sure. And his stats are great too. 15 points per game, 8 rebounds per game, 2 assists per game. 2.2 blocks per game. He is going to be the one man that, like, if Wemby does not win the next 5 defensive player of the years, it's probably going to be Chet. Chet is that great of a defender. He has changed the Thunder for the better ever since he joined them and started playing for them. So I cannot see why he isn't a top 10 center in the league, but we already went through that. We don't have to rehash that at all. So unless you want to, I'll give you some time to process what I just said if you like. Is there any comments you want to make, or should we move on?
I feel like we already had a good little back and forth on that piece. So for the most part, I would just say the points that you made were definitely very reasonable for sure. Ultimately, I think I would like to see him play more games in a season and stay on the floor more, as opposed to like getting injured and having to miss like half the season. If he does that, I think easily top 10 probably. And as you mentioned, if Wemby were to not win a defensive player of the year, then there's a good chance the reason is because Chet ends up stealing the reign from him. So overall, I would say not a whole lot else aside from that.
All right, fair enough. Are we ready for the top 5?
Yeah, I think so.
Top
We
5
can
time.
now go on to the top 5.
All right, let's reveal it. And I'm like 95% sure that we're going to have the same names. The order is going to be interesting. At least I hope we have the same names. It'll be very confusing if we don't. All right. You know what? It's very similar. And the difference here, I'm not mad about it. I'm honestly not mad about it. Would you like to read off your list?
Yeah. So number 5, I have Joel Embiid. Number 4, Alperen Şengün. Number 3, Karl Anthony Towns. Number 2, Victor Wembanyama. And at number 1, Nikola Jokic.
And for me, at number 5, I have Alperen Şengün. 4, Karl Anthony Towns. 3, Joel Embiid. 2, Victor Wembanyama. And at number 1, Nikola Jokic. So, um, I guess our thing is like we have the same players. We have the same top five players. The biggest difference is like where we place Joel Embiid, which is by far the hardest thing to do on the list is to figure out where Joel Embiid belongs. I basically ended up doing like what I expect he'd be at if healthy and if he played for most of the season. I expect him to be a top three center in the league. Um, that's why I have him at three. But at this point of in his career, that's kind of a lot to ask for him just to be healthy and on the floor. And this is no like diss to Joel at all, but like this has been a struggle throughout his entire career. So, like expecting him to be a top three center might be a lot. So I understand why you have him a little lower. You have him at five. It's not um, crazy. You know, um, some people might argue for him to be even lower because the last season wasn't the best. He was injured. He didn't average a lot of points, but to be fair, he didn't play a lot of minutes. Um, yeah, Joel, did he give you trouble as well? Like, did you have a hard time placing Joel on your list?
Definitely, yeah. And I think that a huge part of it was definitely the fact of like relying on him to be healthy. And I think that like easily if he for sure could be a top 3 center in the league, but like as you said, I feel like it's a tall ask of him. I mean, like he's missing games like crazy every year, and like last year he didn't look that great during his limited time. Um, I will say that I do think this is pretty funny because do you remember last year was we were doing like an in season like top 15 or the top 20 players thing, and I was like giving you a bunch of shit for saying that you would rather have Şengün on your team than Embiid, and now you actually have Embiid ranked higher while I have Şengün ranked higher. It's funny how times shift.
Yeah, I definitely remember that. And as I saw your list and saw my list, I was like, oh, maybe I sound hypocritical for having Joel over Şengün, but it's definitely like a lot of projecting here. I'm
Yeah,
projecting that he's gonna be, like not MVP level, but like top three center level good.
yeah,
That's what I'm projecting, but I wouldn't be surprised if like by December, I think that's when we did that video. By December this
yeah.
year, I'm gonna have Şengün over Embiid again, and we'll like have a similar argument or something.
Yeah, that'll be really funny, not gonna lie. Like if we end up shifting our opinions once again.
Like
It's a
it
lot
could
of back.
it could happen. It could happen.
Yeah, definitely. Um, without further ado, I think it's time I can like go a little bit more in
Go ahead.
depth on my explanations. So I already mentioned Embiid a little bit. Could easily be higher. The main reason why I have him here is just due to the unpredictability of whether or not he can stay on the floor. He just hasn't been able to do that recently. And yeah, if he is able to, I think there's a good chance he could be a top 3 center, but because of uncertainty, this is why I have him just barely cracking top 5. Şengün, obviously last year he had a pretty good breakout season, made a good leap forward, and I am certainly a Şengün fan. He averaged 19 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, shot 50% from the field. Only thing about Şengün is he has room for improvement to try to improve his 3-point shooting. He only shot 23% from the field last year. Not very good. Granted, he is a center and isn't necessarily meant to have to shoot out there, but if he does, though, definitely a boost to his game. Um, I will say this: the fact that he was able to be last year illustrious in the Rockets um, 2 seed run, shall we say. Um, I think that he could potentially get even better. The main key is, will he be able to hopefully, well, will he be able to make the next leap? I think is yes. If he could find a way to put up the 3-point shooting, that would be even better. The fact that he was able to make the All-Star last year was definitely a major improvement and very good for sure. So maybe he makes it again. And yeah, Şengün easily top 5 center. Um, right above him on his list, I have Karl Anthony Towns at number 3. So Cat, he also made a pretty good boost last season as well. Um, not that he wasn't already really good in Minnesota. I mean, he was. But was the Knicks his first season? It was like practically a match made in heaven. I mean, 24 points, 13 rebounds, 3 assists, 53% from the field, and 42% from 3. Pretty good. Um, his first season with the Knicks was nothing short of remarkable. Um, made it back to the conference finals, which is the same spot that they made. Well, actually, no, further than before they traded for him, because previous year the Knicks got bounced by the Pacers in the second round. Um, and Cat, shooting very efficiently, has a 3-point range and can shoot the 3 and pretty efficiently too. Easily top 3 in the league for sure. So that brings us to the top 2. Number 2, Wemby. Um, his game speaks for itself. Obviously, he is um, the very tall, the Eiffel Tower, and great offensively and defensively. Last year, his season got cut short, unfortunately, due to injury, but that is not to really put aside his capabilities. He is going to be forced to be reckoned with for years to come. 24 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 48% from the field, and 35% from 3. Um, I think that the scary part about it is that he could be even better than he already is. And I think that last season, obviously, he missed a lot of it due to injury. If he could stay like on the floor for a bigger chunk of the season, and the Spurs build a better foundation. I mean, their team is not bad. They just need to have like more time to gel, and some more veterans would certainly be helpful. But if the league allows the Spurs to get back to the playoffs, they're going to be a scary force to be reckoned with for sure. So Wemby, easily number 2 center in the league. And that brings us to the undisputable, clear-cut number 1 center in the league, Nikola Jokic. And this one is just no debate whatsoever. Um, Obviously, NBA champion in 2023. He has won. I honestly lost track of the number of MVPs he's won at this point. I think he's won like 3 or
3.
Yeah, 3. Yeah, 3 MVPs, and still putting up crazy numbers too. Average nearly 30 points per game, 13 rebounds, 10 assists, 58% from the field, 42 from 3. Um, Nuggets obviously would not be anywhere near the team they are without his presence. And yeah, honestly, putting up averaging a triple double is mightily impressive. And obviously, we all know he has the demeanor of great hooper, doesn't really care much, still really damn good, kind of like the Kawhi after Kawhi. And yeah, um, easily, undisputably the top center in the league, and very likely the best player in the league in 2025. So that will be my list from number 5 to number 1 centers of 2025-2026.
Okay, yeah, I no notes because we basically have the same list, and the only differences are Joel Embiid placements. So honestly, I'm just gonna run through my list, and then we could call it an episode. So we're gonna start with my number 5 placement, which is Alperen Şengün, who had a great year last year, became a one-time All-Star, helped lead the Rockets to the second seed. Unfortunately for them, they got bounced in the first round, but still, it was a good experience, and I want to say next year it's gonna be even better for them. Um, but honestly, with that Fred Van Vliet injury, that could derange, or not derange. What's the word? Um, what's the word? I don't know. It'll throw them off for sure. It'll throw off the season, not having a real point guard. They're gonna try. Who was their rookie last year? The shooter. Um,
Oh, Reed
Reed.
Shepard.
Yeah, I'm sure he's gonna have some playing time. I heard that Amon Thompson might have to play some point forward. But yeah, next year I'm sure they're gonna be good. Probably top 4, but I don't know about top 2 without Fred. Um, I'm sure Şengün actually is gonna do a good amount of playmaking. He is considered baby Jokic for a reason. He is a great um, playmaker at the center position. So we'll see if that can come through and help the team uh, be a dominant force next year. Number 4 for me is Karl Anthony Towns. One of the best shooting big men in the league. 24.4 points per game, 12.8 rebounds per game, 3 assists per game. Had a huge impact on the Knicks last year. One of the biggest reasons why the Knicks were like the number 1 offense in the league is because of this man right here. Yeah. Although, sometimes he frustrates me. He does those stupid fouls, and, the lack of defense does not help his case at all. But, you know, if you want someone to get you 24 points per game, Carl's your guy. Cat is your guy. Number 3, I have Joel Embiid. Obviously, I don't know how he's going to play next year, if he's going to play next year. That is definitely the biggest question, because he always gets injured. So it is very difficult to place him on the list, but I decided to put him at 3. I think he could be a top 3 center in the league if healthy, but as I said earlier, that's kind of a lot to ask for Joel Embiid. 31, will be 32 this upcoming season. By far not like UG status, but still, with the amount of injuries he's had throughout the years, that's gonna play a toll on his body for sure. And we've seen it affect his game already, so I'm sure that's not going to change. I'm sure that's going to continue affecting him, unfortunately. But, shout out to Joel. I do think, or I do hope he plays like a top 3 center next year. But we'll see. Number 2, Victor Wembanyama, one of the most unique players in NBA history. He could do it all. He could dribble. He could shoot. He could pass. He can play mad defense. He can dunk. He could do it all. Like, this man is extremely talented. Will be the face of the league, and will be the best player in the league someday. He's already like the best defender in the league. When he's healthy, and I guess that's the biggest thing we're gonna need to look out for. If he's gonna be able to stay on the court next year, that is something that could be a concern, but maybe it won't be. We'll see. Hopefully for him, last year was just a fluke, and this year he's gonna prove to the world that he is that guy. And will be the best player in the league soon, but not yet because Nikola Jokic is still breathing. Therefore, he is still the greatest basketball player on the planet. This man averaged a 30-point triple double last year and didn't even get the MVP. That's crazy to me. That's insane. Um, that shows how talented the league is, but it should have been to Jokic. Jokic has been the best player in the league for so long. Arguably deserved 5 MVPs now since, Kendrick Perkins turned the MVP award into a race war. That's why Embiid ended up winning. And then, last year, SGA had a good shooting year and averaged 30 points per game and was the scoring title champ. And I guess that was enough. Oh, he was also you know, on the best team in the league. So that helps for sure. I understand why those two players ended up winning MVPs, but like the years that he lost the MVP race is like the years he for sure deserved to win MVP. I feel like
Definitely.
that's very funny, but yeah, Jokic is for sure going to be the number one center in the league. As you said, no debate there.
Definitely. Easy for sure. And I would say now that you gave all your pointers, overall, not a whole lot for me to say because obviously we have the same set of players in the top five. It's just a few slight different orderings.
Mm-hmm.
Be and yeah, overall, I think this list we had a lot more similarities. It might be like one of our more close chunks for the position series.
That's what I was gonna say. I felt like this was
Yeah,
definitely our most like similar list for sure. Um, yeah, I guess this is a good time to do the recap. Hoops. Who are the top 15 NBA centers going into this new season?
so for the top 15 centers entering the 2025-2026 NBA season, at number 15, I got Kristaps Porzingis. Number 14, Chet Holmgren. 13, Miles Turner. 12, Nikola Vucevic. 11, Rudy Gobert. 10, Jarrett Allen. 9, Ivica Zubats. 8, Bam Adebayo. 7, Domantas Sabonis. 6, Evan Mobley. 5, Joel Embiid. 4, Alperen Sengun. 3, Karl Anthony Towns. 2, Victor Wembanyama. And at number 1, Nikola Jokic.
For me, at number 15, I got Nick Claxton. 14, Kristaps Porzingis. 13, Isaiah Hartenstein. 12, Miles Turner. 11, Rudy Gobert. 10, Jared Allen. 9, Bam Adebayo. 8, Eva, 8, Ivica Zubats. 7, Domantas Sabonis. 6, Chet Holmgren. 5, Alperen Sengun. 4, Karl Anthony Towns. 3, Joel Embiid. 2, Victor Wembanyama. And at number 1, I, of course, have Nikola Jokic. So, that is our list. We have finished the rankings for every position now. Next week, we'll come back and actually rank all the players in the NBA. I forgot how many players we're going to be ranking. I feel like we did 25 last year. I don't really remember, so I'll double check that. But that should
I think
still
it was
be
25.
25. Okay, I think so too. But that should be a very exciting episode that you should all check out. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it, right? Get that notification bell ready so you know when our next episode is out. Like and subscribe, of course, to this video. That would be awesome. If you're on audio platforms like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star rating and review. But yeah, Hoops, anything you want to say before we head out?
Just want to say, per usual, thank you guys for the constant support to our channel. We greatly appreciate it. If you guys like our content, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, follow us on all platforms. As mentioned, we completed the position rankings. Next week, overall top 25 players in the league entering the 2025-2026 season. So you definitely do not want to miss that. And next week, I believe, the start of the NBA preseason. Not necessarily anything crazy exciting there, not a lot of reps from the starters, but nonetheless, it's a sign basketball is back, even if it's not at the full competition. So that was definitely something to look forward to. And yeah, before we know it, regular season also gonna be on the way. So make sure you guys continue to stay tuned because the season is quickly approaching and you do not want to miss the bangers we have coming for you guys.
Yeah, so we hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll see you all next week. Goodbye.